This is really a rather difficult gospel to deal with. And you can imagine what Philip and Andrew must have felt like. For a few Greeks, a few non-believers come to Philip and say, we would like to see Jesus. They've heard of this miracle worker, this rabbi who preaches so well and so captivating. We would like to see him. So Philip goes to Andrew and says the same thing. They want to see Jesus. And so they go to Jesus and say, we've got a few who want to see you. And instead of them getting what they expected, Jesus said, well, bring him here, let's talk. He says, the grain of wheat will have to fall into the ground and die. And then he says, and all of you who love your life will lose it, and those who hate your life will preserve it. They must have walked away shaking their heads. What was that all about? And how do you and I live it? For it certainly meant not just for those few. How do we take this message of dying and rising and live it in our lives? Maybe two stories might help to open that gospel, to give us a new understanding, to invite us to share what the Lord is commanding us to do. The first takes place almost 80 years ago at the beginning of the World War, as it begins to affect the nation of Britain and the bombing that occurs there during what is called later in history the Blitz. There is a young boy named John. He is about 7 or 8 years old, living on one of the suburban streets of London itself. It is at that time washing machines are still somewhat of a luxury, expensive, and his mother, who has another child or two, and the grandmother who lives with them, is difficult with an old machine. One of the neighbors down the road, a young man, a bachelor, is going off to war, the RAF. And so he decides he will give away many of the things he has while he is gone. He does not know if he'll return. So he says to John's mother, why don't you have the washing machine? You'll use it. And then if I come back, I'll take it. Use it. Well, she is more than grateful. It makes her life easier. It makes things much less difficult. And even John relishes in this new machine that is in their home. So for over 4.5 years, while he is out at war, they are using this. Blessedly, he comes back from the war, safe, sound, secure, ready to pick up his life as the rest of Britain does. But of course, when he returns, he takes back the washing machine. John is a little surprised and somewhat angry. Why didn't he let us keep it? We had it for so long. What's he going to need it for? He's only one. It's then his mother teaches him a good lesson. She said, John, you should know the difference between a gift and a possession. She said, a gift is something graciously offered and you hold it lightly in your hands. And then when it is taken away, you are just filled with gratitude for once you had this. Someone bestowed it. Someone offered it to you. Someone saw in you something that was worthy of the gift. And you are just grateful. You never possessed it. Now, I think that story tells us something. Our lives are gifts, not possessions. No wonder we have a hard time giving them away. We see it as our possession, something we own. All those hours we have, days, years, months, decades that are given us, we think they're ours to possess, when the Lord is saying they are yours as a gift to give. No wonder we are stingy with our time or reluctant to offer our lives. And that's why the Lord is telling us, you have to give it away. It was always just a gift. Why did you hoard it? Why did you think it was yours when I gave it for the good of others as well? Enjoy your life, to be sure, but give it away and you will find greater blessings. Hold it lightly. That's a good lesson, isn't it? No wonder we have a hard time letting go. We think it's a possession, as if it's our right. It was a gift all along, and we were meant to share it, give it away, and allow others to know the joy. But a second story might help as well. This is a man who is a Christian in a Buddhist country, and he is trying to teach his other young Christians about this gospel, the grain of wheat falling into the ground and dying. So he tells them a story about another Christian, a man by the name of Snyder. Snyder is a good and holy man, and he has been in the village generations, his family. And he knows the monks who live in the monastery in the hills, high in the mountain, very well. He goes there frequently. He likes them, he likes their spirituality, and they talk and discuss religion. So it is at one time that one of the monks has been down visiting the village that they will go back up together. But they have to leave early, for it is still winter and the storms in the mountains can be fierce. You can get caught and trapped and even die in the heavy snows. They leave a little later than they should have, but they are walking. They are hurrying because they want to beat the storm that is coming and brewing and to arrive at the monastery safe. But as they are crossing a ravine, they hear a voice, timid at first and perhaps weak, asking for help. They look down in the ravine and there they see a man who must have fallen off of the cliff or perhaps on the same bridge they just crossed. The Buddhist monk tells him this is God's will and God's providence, for God allows certain things to happen and we should not interfere. We should leave it alone, for to do so would be disrupting God's plan. And he walks on. Snyder, a Christian himself, says, no, my God tells me that he has put me here. He has put me here to help this man. I am here for the purpose of allowing this man perhaps to live. So he goes down by himself and with great struggle puts the man on his back, carries him up, and then begins to walk the several miles yet to go to the monastery. The storm is beginning, the snow is getting deeper, it is cold, and he is really overcome by the weight of this man on his back. But he continues to trudge. He continues to say, I've got to get there. I've got to help this man. I've got to save him. And he walks toward the monastery. Wonderful sight after many miles. He sees the lights of the monastery not too far off. And as he is walking, he suddenly stumbles over something. He looks down and he is saddened to see his friend, the monk, now frozen there, for he too must have somehow tripped, fallen, and hurt his foot and was not able to continue on. And there he lies, dead and frozen. As he is telling this story to his Christian little people, he tells them that's what Jesus meant about giving your life away for the sake of other people. And he said the greatest tragedy is that you have no burden in your life to carry, that you would have no challenge in life to face, no decision in life to make. For it is only in those burdens, in those challenges and decisions that you affirm that you are a disciple. You and I know that's true, don't we? For the husband and the wife, the bride and groom who profess, who vow their love, is indeed a real love. It is a marriage, but it is only after they begin to carry the burden of one another. It is only after they face challenges together as a couple. It is only when they make decisions, not for themselves, but for others, that they begin to cement the love. They begin to grow together in love. That love is really life-giving. The same with a son or daughter or anyone who is in a relationship of real love and commitment. So that's what that gospel is telling us. That if you hoard your life, you will never know the joy of giving, nor will you ever know the freedom that it brings you when you live yourself. You will not have to protect it. It was always a gift in the first place. And if you understand the story that the man was telling, he was telling that in the burdens we carry, we find a great deal of joy in the giving. And in the challenges we face, we find a strength that we would never have imagined with our God. And in the decisions, we find that we are able to do things we could never have imagined because we decided rightly. So this gospel, it is hard, but may be made easier when we see our lives as gifts, not possessions, or we see the burdens and challenges and decisions as affirming the love we've always had, a God who empowers us, enables us, and tells us when you give it away, it'll come back hundredfold.